Turning now to your top stories at 8:02. One person is dead and 5 others are hurt after a boat crash on West Okoboji Lake yesterday afternoon. According to the Iowa DNR, 2 boats collided near Pillsbury Point. All 5 people hurt and 1 killed were all on the same boat. No one on the other boat was hurt. The DNR says 3 of the injuries are serious and the other 2 are minor. Everyone involved was wearing a life jacket. The DNR says alcohol was not involved. The crash remains under investigation.
5 people are hurt after 2 separate crashes in Des Moines over the weekend. Police say around 11:30 Saturday morning, Demetrius Carrington was speeding and hit another car at the intersection of East First Street and Court Avenue. The force of the crash pushed the second vehicle into someone on a bicycle. The driver of the second vehicle went to the hospital with minor injuries, while the cyclist was hospitalized with serious injuries but is expected to be okay. Carrington is now facing multiple charges, including a second offense for OWI.
The other crash was early Sunday morning at 1:30. Police say a 19-year-old was speeding in a Toyota on MLK Jr. Parkway when he ran a red light and hit a Jeep turning onto Ingersoll Avenue. The driver of the Jeep was ejected when it was hit. Both cars caught fire and bystanders pulled the driver and a 16-year-old passenger from the Toyota. All 3 were taken to hospitals with serious injuries. Police believe failure to yield and potential driver impairment may have contributed to the crashes. Both crashes remain under investigation.
A Polk County judge decided Libertarian candidate Rick Stewart can stay on the ballot in an Iowa congressional race. This comes after another judge denied gubernatorial candidate Nicholas Gluba and his running mate Jules Cutler. Now, Stewart's candidacy was challenged because his nomination papers used the word Richard, or the name Richard rather, and his affidavit of candidacy used the name Rick. Stewart will now face Democrat Lindsey James and Republican Joe Mitchell in November. It is now 8:04, and this morning we are learning new details in the deadly mass shooting at an In-N-Out restaurant in Idaho.
3 people were killed and 7 were hurt before the shooter turned the gun on himself. ABC's Hannah Battah explains how the shooting could have been a lot worse had it not been for one Good Samaritan stepping in.
He's the man seen in this video, returning fire as a gunman carried out a shooting rampage outside an In-N-Out restaurant in Twin Falls, Idaho.
Everybody's running.
35-year-old Jordan Salinas tells the Idaho Statesman he had just pulled into the parking lot when he heard gunfire. He says he drew his semi-automatic pistol and saw the suspect lift a rifle to his shoulder and fire toward cars. That's when Salinas began firing. Police say an off-duty policeman at the scene also returned fire.
These people are true heroes in our community, and their actions diverted the shooter and no doubt saved many lives.
Police say the shooter, identified as 24-year-old Chad Williams, killed 3 people and injured 7 others before taking his own life.
Call the police.
What's happening? What's happening?
What happened?
What's happening?
Lindsay Tangai heard the shots.
It was just mass chaos. The attention was everybody running from In-N-Out.
She found several victims, including her friend Terry Dudley, a taxi driver who was shot in his car.
So I walked over and Terry was in his front seat, still conscious at the moment, but not really able to communicate.
That In-N-Out opened just days ago, drawing massive crowds. The company says one of its employees is among the dead, saying the shooter took the precious lives of our associate and customers, innocent people who never saw it coming. Police have not yet revealed a possible motive for the shooting. Hannah Battah, ABC News, New York.
At least 5 people are dead and another 21 hurt after an explosion in central Moscow over the weekend. Russian officials say an IED exploded near a restaurant. According to Russian state media, at least 6 of those injured remain in serious condition. Russian authorities are investigating the incident as an act of terrorism.
Wildfires in Washington state have reportedly destroyed at least 600 structures. Several fast-moving fires, including a massive one near Spokane, have burned about 7,700 acres. Evacuation orders have forced thousands of residents from their homes. The National Weather Service issued a rare, particularly dangerous situation red flag warning over the weekend across parts of eastern Washington and Oregon, including Spokane. Now, this is the highest alert possible by the NWS for fire weather danger. The cause of the fire is under investigation.
This morning, officials continue to investigate after 2 buildings in downtown Muscatine collapsed late Friday night. The two buildings on 2nd Street came down just before midnight. Authorities say no one was hurt. Both buildings were empty, and also one was already in the process of being demolished. However, the buildings and the collapses, rather, are now raising concerns among residents about the structural integrity of the surrounding buildings.
The question is, how many more buildings will have to go as they go up the block because of all the shared walls they have. They've got a lot of great minds working on it. Engineers have been in here advising the city and the city council, and my hope is that they find a resolution quickly.
Yeah, all right.
And save as many buildings as we can.
Officials are still working to determine what caused both buildings to suddenly come down.
The Iowa State Fair is dedicating the new Iowa Veterans Memorial Walkway. It held a special ceremony at the fairgrounds over the weekend. It's a special new feature at this year's fair, in part to mark America's 250th anniversary. The names of Iowa's Revolutionary War patriots were read in remembrance as the walkway is dedicated to them.
For this America 250 Patriot Marker dedication, we gather to remember the men and women whose service and sacrifice during the American Revolution secured the freedoms we cherish today, and whose lives ultimately brought them to Iowa. This dedication is part of a nationwide effort to honor the patriots of the American Revolution as our nation commemorates the 250th anniversary of American independence.
The 2026 Iowa State Fair is planning to mark America 250 with other celebrations as well, like an official America 250 tree, a legacy sculpture, and nightly drone shows.
The National Balloon Classic in Indianola kicked off over the weekend. Friday and Saturday's shows were grounded due to weather and wind conditions. However, yesterday, the balloons were able to take flight and light up the skies. You're looking at video of that right now. There was even a drone show last night to end the night. It's called The Sky is Alive. And Local 5 spoke with some of the balloon pilots on why they enjoy ballooning so much.
I was born into ballooning. My uncle started flying back in the mid-'70s. And so it's been a part of my life since I was born.
My parents started flying in '74, '75. They helped run the event when it was on the Simpson College campus here in Indianola.
It has color, the fabric is beautiful, the basket's wicker, it signifies the old, if you will, the magic of the old. It appeals to little babies and children all the way up through the grandparents.
The Balloon Classic runs through next weekend.